Hi everyone, this is Mrs. Trigno. This is page 3 of the Chapter 5 Test Review number 1. This page starts out with just two problems that are asking you to solve. And remember, for solving, your choices are substitution or elimination. Or if you wanted to put them in slope-intercept form and put them into your graphing calculator, you could use that method as well. Alright, looking at the first one. I would probably go about with elimination. I think substitution wouldn't be too bad here either, but I'll go ahead and do this one with elimination. And I need to decide whether I'm going to eliminate my x's or my y's. Well, my x's, I could really easily turn that x into a negative 3x just by multiplying this top equation by negative 3. Now let's make sure you understand why I want that to be a negative 3x. I want that to be a negative 3x so that when I add it to this positive 3x, it cancels out. So that equation will now say negative 3x plus positive 18y, and again that's positive because that's negative 3 times negative 6, equals, 3 times 69, it's going to be negative 207. Oh, I probably could have figured that out. Okay, now I'm going to add my two equations together. So 3x and negative 3x are gone. Negative 4y plus 18y leaves me with 14y. And negative 45 plus negative 207 is equal to negative 252. So now I'm going to take that negative 252 and divide by 14, and I'm just going to sneak this in over here. If I divide by 14, I end up with 18. So y equals negative 18. Okay. Now I can plug that back into either equation and solve for x. And since in that first one I don't really have anything in front of x, my original equation for the first one I didn't have anything in front of x, that's probably an easy one to plug into. So I'm going to now make this equation x minus 6 times negative 18 equals 69. Now be careful here, this is a place I see a lot of mistakes. This is really a negative 6 and a negative 18. So when I multiply those two things together, I'm going to get a positive 108. So the fact that this was negative and this is negative means that this is going to be a plus down here. Okay, equals 69. And then really I'm just subtracting 108. A mess here. Box that in. So now I'm going to end up with x equals negative 39. So my coordinate here would be negative 39 and negative 18. Okay. Alright, so I've done elimination on the last two of these types of problems, so I'll go ahead and do substitution for number 9 just so you can see. Again, it is totally your choice. What I do want to point out here is that if you chose to use elimination, the equal signs do not line up. So before you could do elimination, you would need to move this 6y to the other side of the equals. Okay? If I was going to do substitution, I would look at this first one and think that it would be pretty easy to get x by itself. All I really have to do here is divide everything by 4. Divide by 4, divide by 4, divide by 4 to get that to cancel. So that's going to leave me with x equals 1.5y minus 1. And then I can plug this, the 1.5y minus 1, in for x down here. So now that is going to say 8 times 1.5y minus 1 plus 2y equals 48. I'll go ahead and simplify this. 8 times 1.5y is going to leave me with 12y. 8 times negative 1 is negative 8, and then plus 2y here. And move up here. When I combine my like terms here, I end up with 14y minus 8 equals 48. Add the 8 to both sides. 14y equals 56. Divide by 14 And I end up with y equals 4. 56 divided by 14 is 4. Now to go back and find x, I'm going to plug that right back in here where I have what x equals. X equals 1.5y minus 1. So that would be x equals 1.5 times 4 minus 1. 1.5 times 4 is 6, so 6 minus 1 is 5. That means my coordinate is 5, 4. X equals 5, y equals 4. Okay, looking at number 10, writing the inequality to represent the shaded region. On this one, remember with these, I always suggest that you start by writing out y equals mx plus b, because that sort of gives you a guide for what pieces you need to fill in. And I always start down here on the end. Again, I don't know why. You probably could do it the same way from the very beginning, but I think it's easiest to find your y-intercept first. My y-intercept on this one is right here. It's at positive 2. So I know my b value is going to be a positive 2. My slope, if I was to do rise and run, I'm going to pick this point and this point just so that it's a little easier to see on the camera what I'm doing. But to get from this one to this one, I go down 2. And since I'm going down, that's a rise of negative 2. And then I run positive 2, because that's 2 to the right. So my slope is negative 2 over positive 2, which is really a negative 1. Now you should have gotten that same negative 1 no matter what pair you chose. So if you chose to do like maybe this point, the y-intercept and the x-intercept, that's usually a popular choice, you would have gotten the same thing. Or if you would have chosen 2 points right next to each other, it still would have worked the same way. Your slope should be negative 1x. Well, I'm sorry, your slope is negative 1, but don't forget to put your x in there. Now I need to look at the shading. The shading here is above the line, so that means this is a greater than. I want y to be greater than the line. And it is a dotted line, so I do not want to include an equal bar. I would just say y is greater than negative 1x plus 2. And that's my final answer. All right, number 11. Oh, a word problem. Okay. My very first question is, define the variables in this situation. Now, I usually tell you to jump to the end of the problem. I do notice here in number 11 that it kind of just gives you the information that you need. The end of the problem would be down here in level C, or part C, where it says determine the number of child and adult tickets sold. That right there tells you how to define your variables. Okay, so what I am trying to find is the number of child and the number of adult tickets. So I'm going to say C is the number of child tickets. And it is important that you specify that it's the number of tickets, because I don't know if you're talking about price of the tickets. I don't know if you're talking about, groups of tickets sold. I don't know what you're talking about if you just write child. So C is the number of child tickets. A is the number of adult tickets. And that's what I'm looking for defining your variables. Tell me what letters you're using and what they represent. Now to write my system, let's start with the very first chunk of information. Children's tickets cost $1.50 and adult tickets cost $4. So I would take my number of children tickets and multiply by $1.50. My number of adult tickets and multiply by 4. And then I have to think about which one of these numbers I want to set this equal to. This is cost, or money. This is cost, or money. So I want to make sure if I'm adding money and money, it equals money, which would be my 5,050. Okay. Now I do need that 2,200 figure for my second equation. I know there were 2,200 tickets sold total. So to get my total number of tickets, I would add together my number of child tickets and my number of adult tickets. So my second equation is just C plus A equals 2,200. Oh, and I see that I messed up here. I meant to use a C here instead of an A. Sometimes I get talking and my pen moves faster than my brain. Okay, so just to clarify, my system should say 150C plus 4A equals 5050, and then C plus A equals 2200. Now part C, I'm actually asking you to solve. I would bet that elimination is going to be the easiest way to go. I'm going to take this first equation and leave it exactly the same. I'm going to hack off some of those zeros though. So I have 1.5C plus 4A equals 5050. For my second equation, I'm going to take this and multiply by -4. And I'm going to do that so that I can get my A's to cancel out, because this is a positive 4A, so I would want a -4A. You could do the same thing with like a -1.5 and cancel out your C if you wanted to. But that's going to give me -4C minus 4A equals -8800. Now let's just add together. 1.5 and -4 makes -2.5C. My A's are gone. And 5050 plus -8800 comes out to be -3750. Still see this down there? Okay. Divide by -2.5. Divide by -2.5. And I end up with C equals 1500. Okay, so 1500 children entered the fair that day. I need to plug this back in to find A, and probably the easiest place to do it would be the second equation. So I would do 1500, I'm going to section this off here, 1500 plus A equals 2200. That means I'm just going to subtract the 1500, and I should end up with A equal to 700. So as my final answer, 1,500 children's tickets and 700 adult tickets were sold that day. Okay, that's it for page 3. Stay tuned for page 4.